KPEL News Time is coming up on 7:41. This is Acadiana's Morning News. Brandon Como, Bernadette Lee, and joining us on the phone lines today is Congressman Charles Boustany, Senate candidate as well. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, sir.
Well, good morning. It's really great to be with you all again.
All right, so we've got a few topics that we want to discuss with you this morning. There's one that we've talked about many times here on the show. It has to do with the VA clinics, and I saw this press release come out a little bit earlier this week that there are now additional delays in establishing those permanent clinics in Lake Charles. What's going on with all these delays that have been announced this week with the VA clinics?
Well, I've been on 2 conference calls with the VA over the past week to get clarification on this. The design of the clinic in Lake Charles is about 75% complete, and which would mean then they could move on with construction. But they had a problem with sewage easement, and I think we've got the problem close to being resolved. There are 3 options. The least expensive option goes through adjacent property, and there was an issue with the adjacent property owner. Mm-hmm. And the other 2 options, which one of those may be a better option overall, is under consideration, and the contractor would actually eat the cost on that. So I'm waiting to see how this will proceed over the next few days. Hopefully, we should not see any further major delay. I'm staying on this. Like I said, I had 2 conference calls, one with the entire VA hierarchy on this, ranging from the deputy secretary all the way down to officials here in the state. And the second one included all of them plus the CEO of the contracting company. And so we're working through that right now. My hope is that there will be no significant delay. If there is, it's only a matter of a week or so. But, we are staying on top of this, and I will not stop. And I told them any significant delay is completely unacceptable.
When you talk with our local veterans about this issue and the delays that have been happening, and I saw the quote from Senator Cassidy talking about how, look, it's taken more than 13 years to get the Lake Charles VA clinic approved, for instance. What are some of the reactions that you hear from, some of our local veterans that are having to deal with this?
Well, local veterans have been appreciative of my attempts to do this because I was the one who broke through all the barriers. I was the one who got the budget rule waived so we could move forward after the budget rule was arbitrarily changed by the Congressional Budget Office. I was the one who laid out the whole approach to get these clinics authorized and then ensured that the money was available. I had to fight my own leadership in the House. I had to fight with the VA bureaucracy multiple times and the president himself to get this done. And so I've led this charge. And the veterans know it. We've worked together to make sure that these projects move forward despite the VA bureaucracy, which is one of the worst in the entire federal government.
Congressman Charles Boustany joining us on the show, and so we wanted to hit a couple different topics with you. So let's go ahead and transition to one as well, and this having to do with the environment and the Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement. They're talking about how they could be implementing a possible, de facto moratorium in the Gulf because of their well control rule. Can you explain that for us?
Well, this is a new well control rule that the Department of Interior, and more specifically the Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement, has put forward. And as you know, after the Deepwater Horizon, there's been a lot of work to improve safety, both by industry and also by the federal government. This rule is really unworkable. In talking to a lot of experts in the field, including an independent consultancy company, we are contending that this rule doesn't match up. They haven't even consulted. The federal government hasn't even really truly consulted with experts in the field to construct this. It's a one-size-fits-all approach to these blowout preventers in the Gulf of Mexico, which does not take into account specifics from well to well. And the impact of this would be probably 190,000 direct jobs lost, basically creating a de facto moratorium in the Gulf of Mexico. And not only does it not add additional safety, it could actually make things worse in many instances. We don't think this is a good approach, and we're asking the Obama administration to put a stop to this gratuitous attack on American energy production, stop the war on energy, and let's promote American energy production in a safe and efficient way. It's important. And, the fact is, we have indications that this rule alone would cost $95 billion. $95 billion, shutting down further production in the Gulf. It makes no sense. There's nothing good about it. And our delegation met recently with the Office of Management and Budget at the White House, specifically the regulatory affairs people, to point all this out. And what Congressman Garrett Graves and I are doing now, we have requested in the 2017 budget that no money, not a single penny, goes to implementing this rule, because we are convinced that this rule is not workable. In fact, it harms safety. It needs to stop.
So if this rule were to be implemented, how negatively could it impact the oil industry, especially when we're talking about jobs?
190,000 direct jobs lost. That's already on top of probably some 250,000 jobs already lost because of the low price of oil. This is devastating for the industry, and it's devastating for American energy production, which we want to promote. We don't want to continue to promote Iranian energy production or Saudi energy production. We want American energy production. And I'm not going to stop until we get this rule eliminated, because it adds nothing to safety. In fact, it actually harms safety, and it's an economic destructive force in terms of what it will cost. $95 billion and 190,000 jobs. This is a direct hit on Louisiana. It's an assault on American energy production, and I'm not going to stop until we stop this rule.
With everything that we're facing here in the Gulf region, gosh, the 12,000 jobs we've lost just in our 10 to 12 parish area. Obviously there's some good things going on in Lake Charles area, but that doesn't help folks who have to worry about, Lafayette, Acadiana, et cetera. It seems to me as if they're just trying to destroy this industry.
I believe there's a war on oil and gas and coal being perpetrated by this administration. It's across the board.
That's what it seems like. You don't want to be paranoid, but my God, that's what it seems like.
The president issued a $10.25 tax per barrel of oil. I immediately jumped on that and opposed it. I was the first to step out there. I introduced legislation to basically say absolutely no way they're going to do this. We're working. Garrett Graves and I are working. We're taking the lead to stop this well control rule. They're trying to do everything they can in the White House to stop American energy production. And American energy production, oil and gas, is one of the bright spots of innovation in our economy. It's created a lot of jobs prior to all this, this decline in the price. We have seen innovation, which has driven this industry forward. It's all American innovation. And the fact is, it led our economy out of the recession, which we had a few years ago. We cannot grow this economy. We cannot create jobs unless this industry is growing. This industry is a job creator. It's an innovator, and it helps provide for our energy security and national security and our allies. And so the fact of the matter is, we have got to stop this rule. I'm doing everything I can, including using the power of the purse as we construct the 2017 appropriations bill for the Department of Interior. What Congressman Graves and I are doing, we're saying not a single penny can go to the implementation of this rule. We're trying to kill it. If we can kill it for the 2017 budget, then hopefully we'll have more favorable politics next year, and we can put a permanent end to any attempt to do this.
How worried are you? I'm sorry, Brandon.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, how worried are you? Whoever ends up in the White House, my goodness, is there nothing? You can only hope that if it's not a Republican in the White House, that person would at least be open, to hearing out these concerns. Before you know it, 60% of us, 70% of us in Louisiana are going to be on some type of federal assistance because they've killed our industry.
Well, that's my concern, and I'm going to continue to fight hard and fight smart to stop this kind of stuff. I've been successful in stopping taxes on oil and gas that the Obama administration and some in my party wanted to put in to a tax bill. I've stopped that, and we have stopped some other things. But I'll tell you this, that $10 tax on a barrel of crude oil is dead on arrival. It's going nowhere. We've got the ability to stop that cold. It will never see the light of day.
But I think
this well control rule is something that we're in the middle of a fight on now. and I won't stop until we get it. We get it eliminated.
Well, I think this also brings up an interesting, topic, because talking about going into next year, it's not just the presidency that can, either change sides or go even more so into Democrat control hands, but it's also the Senate. A lot of people are not talking about the fact that
That's
the U.S. Senate could flip, and if you have people that are very, anti-oil and gas get control of not only the presidency but the Senate, that could make for some huge negatives, especially for us here in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Well, there's no question. There are 33 Senate seats up around the country. 24 of those are held by Republican incumbents, and many of those are in states that are either blue states that went with Obama, or they're swing states. And Republicans could lose the majority in the Senate. That's at risk. Here in Louisiana, it's very important to put the right person into the Senate, somebody who actually has gotten things done, provided conservative solutions for Louisiana. And if you look at the list of candidates, I'm the only one with actual accomplishments. Stopping some of these harmful Obamacare, like Obamacare. I had the greatest defeat to Obamacare to date that became law. We eliminated an $86 billion entitlement program. That may be the first time an entitlement was stopped before it even got started. I've saved the taxpayers right there $86 billion by eliminating a part of Obamacare. I've stood up and effectively eliminated harmful things to our energy industry, our American energy production. It's going to be important to put the right conservative, practical Republican in place to win in Louisiana. We don't want any drama, and we don't want to see a repeat of what happened in the governor's race, where a Democrat slipped in because of Republican infighting. And so I'm a conservative who gets results. I know how to get things done, and I can do it with a sense of urgency, which is something I learned as a heart surgeon. You can't just talk and whine about problems. You actually got to solve problems. You actually have to make decisions and get things done. And that's what I bring to the table in this. Okay, and that's what we're going to need across the board in these Senate races, because the Senate is going to be key in all of this. No matter who becomes president, the Senate will be the determinant of what either gets done or doesn't get done. And Louisiana needs a leader that can actually step up and be very vocal and get things done in the U.S. Senate.
Now, Congressman Boustany, you mentioned the taxpayers. So before you go, we want to let you touch on this topic real quickly, because there's something that you're fighting against, dealing with the IRS and sending billions of dollars in wasteful welfare payments to fraudulent claimants. Mm-hmm.
Well, the IRS has been asleep at the wheel, and before I was, I had my term limits on the oversight subcommittee where I was chairman. I started investigating this earned income tax credit and it's the one program that basically has a significant amount of abuse, well above many other programs. This program is basically a tax credit program. So if you qualify, the IRS actually writes you a check, but they are not verifying income, which is the important piece to this. And so they're writing checks, oftentimes not knowing who's getting those checks. And a lot of this is going to people. There were either improper payments or fraudulent payments. And the calculations are that it's billions of dollars going out every year. This program has the highest fraud rate of all the programs. And Treasury, the U.S. Department of Treasury, has developed a portal to stop this by forcing government agencies to provide relevant information and share relevant information. The doggone IRS refuses to participate and do what it's supposed to do in this, and they keep writing these checks. And I have beat up on the commissioner about this in the past, and we are now demanding that they step up now that Treasury has developed this new approach to stop it.
Amazing. Congressman Charles Boustany has been our guest, sir. Thank you so much for your time this morning and delving into the issues with us. We appreciate it.
Great to be with y'all. Thanks.
You too. Have a great weekend. Thank you, sir. All right, coming up now on 7:55 here at KPEL. Right now, we are getting an all clear from police. Make sure that you're buckling up and that you keep it safe out there this morning, please.